Welcome to Holy Heartbeats. My name is Nathan, and I narrate Christ-centered testimonies from all over the world. These testimonies include rapture and end-times visions, near-death experiences, encounters with angels and demons, God, Jesus, and even Satan himself. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you are fond of listening to these types of stories, and let me know what you think about these testimonies in the comments section below. Furthermore, for those who want to share their personal testimonies, visions, and revelations from God, you can send us your own stories at holyheartbeat7@gmail.com. I will be very honored to read your testimony, which may inspire, edify, and encourage a lot of people in their personal journey of faith with the Lord Jesus Christ. Hi Nathan, you can call me Enlightened Hal. I hope you will share my research with your audience, as I deeply believe this is very important. To many, the idea of reptilian humanoids secretly running the world from the shadows is considered the craziest conspiracy theory ever proposed. It is, in fact, the baseline for when conspiracy theories enter the realm of lunacy. However, when researched beyond just a glance at a few internet videos, one begins to realize that the rabbit hole runs much deeper than a mere ridiculous or poorly founded belief. On a personal level, I am conflicted about my own feelings on this subject, but some of the evidence is rather astonishing. Multiple cultures and religions from around the world have their own concepts of reptilian humanoids having visited Earth in the distant past. Some even carved statues commemorating them as star travelers, or, in some instances, deities. One case study I find particularly baffling is that of the LACERTA files. We'll explore that shortly. First, though, I'd like to delve deeper into the reptilian topic. In the late 1990s, David Icke, a controversial figure known for his wide-ranging conspiracy theories, was on a quest to uncover hidden truths about global power structures. His theories, which began with the idea of an elite group controlling humanity through a new world order, had by then evolved into something far more expansive and bizarre. The belief in a race of reptilian extraterrestrials that had secretly manipulated humanity for millennia. Icke believed these reptilian entities, which he called the reptilian elite, had infiltrated the highest levels of global leadership, including monarchies, governments, and even the entertainment industry. According to Icke, these beings could shapeshift between their reptilian form and a human appearance, enabling them to control the world undetected. However, Icke's claims were often dismissed as outlandish and relegated to the fringes of conspiracy circles. In 1998, Icke met a man whose stories and knowledge seemed to not only confirm his reptilian theories, but also connect them with intricate and deep-rooted African spiritual traditions, which often do not receive the publicity and attention they deserve in the Western world. That man was Vusamazulu Credo Mutwa, a respected Zulu Sangoma, traditional healer, and Sanusi, seer, equivalent to a medium, in South Africa. David Icke first met Credo Mutwa in 1998 while researching the origins of his reptilian hypothesis. By that point, Icke had already published books such as The Biggest Secret, 1999, where he introduced the idea that reptilian beings were secretly controlling world affairs. Still, his claims lacked the historical and cultural depth that could lend them more credibility beyond Western esoteric traditions. Mutwa, on the other hand, was deeply immersed in the ancient oral traditions of the Zulu people. Born on July 21, 1921, he was widely regarded as a custodian of African wisdom, mythology, and spiritual knowledge. He spent his life learning sacred stories and traditions passed down through generations of African shamans and healers. His knowledge extended far beyond the borders of his Zulu heritage. When Icke met Mutwa, it was as though he had found the missing piece of a puzzle. Mutwa claimed that the very beings Icke had been describing, the reptilian shapeshifters, had long been known to African tribes as the Chitauri. According to Mutwa, these beings were not a figment of conspiracy theory. They were deeply embedded in African mythology and were said to be responsible for much of humanity's suffering and enslavement. Credo Mutwa's revelations to David Icke centered on the Chitauri, a term that roughly translates to children of the serpent or children of the python in Zulu. According to Mutwa, these beings descended from the skies in ancient times, presenting themselves as gods to early humans. The Chitauri were described as highly intelligent, tall, and reptilian in form. They possessed advanced technologies and abilities that made them appear godlike to the people they encountered. In African oral traditions, the Chitauri were believed to have manipulated early humans, altering their consciousness and biology to make them more controllable. Mutwa explained that according to these legends, the Chitauri imposed systems of kingship and hierarchy on human societies, claiming to be divine rulers. Much like Iki's depiction of the reptilian elite, the Chitauri were said to have maintained their control through deception and fear, demanding human sacrifices and enforcing strict obedience from their subjects. One of the most disturbing elements of Mutwa's account was the role of human sacrifice in sustaining the Chitauri's power. According to African traditions, the Chitauri fed on the negative energy generated by human suffering, echoing Iki's later claims that reptilian beings harvested lush, emotional energy, for their survival. Mutwa further explained that African kings were often complicit, serving as intermediaries between the Chitauri and their people. Credo Mutwa's tales of the Chitauri were not confined to a single African tradition. They resonated with myths and legends across the continent. Many African cultures spoke of serpentine gods or reptilian entities descending from the skies, wielding immense power and demanding loyalty. These stories also paralleled myths from other parts of the world, such as the Anunnaki from Sumerian mythology, deities said to have descended from the heavens to control humanity. Mutwa's accounts also invoked the Nag Hammadi texts, discovered in Egypt in 1945. These early Gnostic writings described the archons, demonic beings that interfered with humanity by manipulating their perception of reality and preventing spiritual liberation. Like the Chitauri, the archons were often depicted with reptilian features and were seen as masters of deception. These connections raised a provocative question. Were these reptilian gods symbolic representations of abstract concepts, or were they based on actual beings that once interacted with ancient cultures? Mutwa's recounting of the Chitauri suggested that these myths might be grounded in real historical events, with the Chitauri actively shaping human civilization from behind the scenes. Credo Mutwa was not merely a storyteller. He claimed to have first-hand experiences with these beings. According to him, initiation rituals had connected him to ancient knowledge about the Chitauri. During spiritual visions and trances, he reportedly encountered these reptilian entities, with some experiences being profoundly terrifying. In one particularly harrowing vision, Mutwa described seeing the Chitauri controlling vast networks of human kings and rulers, enforcing their will through ritualistic practices and psychic manipulation. He claimed these beings could implant thoughts and control individuals without their awareness. Mutwa also noted that the Chitauri preferred secrecy, concealing their true form from public view. However, they would occasionally reveal themselves to high-ranking individuals initiated into their workings. This mirrored David Iki's theories about global elites being allied with these beings, possibly even descending from them through interbreeding, a notion Ika expanded upon in his writings and lectures. The interview between David Ika and Credo Mutwa marked a pivotal moment for Iki's reptilian theory. Their conversation, later published in Iki's books and released in video format, detailed Mutwa's knowledge of the Chitauri and their infiltration of human society over millennia. The two men discussed how these beings were worshipped as gods in ancient times and how they continued to influence global events through hidden means. In the years following their collaboration, Credo Mutwa became a central figure in Iki's framework, adding a deep cultural and historical dimension to the reptilian hypothesis. The idea that ancient African shamans had long known about the reptilian control of humanity aligned with Iki's global perspective, suggesting that these beings transcended cultures and civilizations. Credo Mutwa's revelations continue to intrigue both followers of Iki and scholars of African mythology. Whether viewed as allegory, mythology, or something more literal, Mutwa's testimony about the Chitauri remains a vital piece of the reptilian puzzle, a bridge between ancient African wisdom and modern conspiracy thought. The LACERTA Files, Interview 1. The world we inhabit is filled with mysteries, ancient, profound, and often unsettling. For millennia, humanity has sought to understand its place in the cosmos, gazing at the stars for answers, praying to deities for wisdom, and exploring the oceans for traces of lost civilizations. But what if the answers we seek are neither in the heavens nor in the depths of the past, but instead beneath our very feet? This is where the LACERTA Files come into play. In December 1999, a controversial document surfaced, a purported transcript of an interview with a being claiming to be one of the Reptilians, an ancient species said to predate humanity and to have lived hidden within the earth for hundreds of thousands of years. The LACERTA files provide an astonishing account of Earth's history, human evolution, and the secret involvement of an intelligent reptilian species that allegedly resides deep underground. These files are named after the being who participated in the interview, LACERTA, a female member of this ancient and advanced race. The transcript, spanning several pages, documents a conversation between LACERTA and a Swedish researcher whose identity remains anonymous. LACERTA asserts that her species has coexisted with humans for millennia, observing, guiding, and at times manipulating human evolution. However, unlike mythological gods often depicted in ancient texts, these beings are not celestial but terrestrial, having lived in hidden underground cavities of Earth long before Homo sapiens appeared. For those unfamiliar with the reptilian hypothesis, this might sound implausible. However, it aligns with long-standing alternative theories about the origins of human civilization, extraterrestrial involvement, and secret subterranean societies. The LACERTA files form part of a broader puzzle that intersects with ancient astronaut theories, cryptozoology, ufology, and modern conspiracy narratives. What sets the LACERTA files apart is the claim that these beings are not visitors from distant planets, but rather Earth's own ancient hidden inhabitants. In the interview, LACERTA describes her species as reptilian humanoids, possessing advanced technology, profound scientific and metaphysical knowledge, and a lengthy history of interacting with the surface world. She explains that her people have chosen to remain hidden, viewing humanity as violent and unprepared for the truth. According to LACERTA, her species has influenced human history at critical junctures, shaping civilizations and cultures while remaining in the shadows. The interview challenges the perception of reality, suggesting that the world humans perceive is only a thin veneer, beneath which lies a more complex and concealed truth. LACERTA also claims that the reptilian race has been misunderstood and vilified throughout history, often confused with other entities such as the Anunnaki, archons, or even angels and demons. She insists that her people are not inherently malevolent, but act in their own interest to ensure survival, while avoiding conflict with humanity. Among the most startling revelations in the interview is LACERTA's explanation of how human history has been influenced by external forces, including her species and other extraterrestrial beings. She discusses the creation of religions, the suppression of ancient knowledge, and the manipulation of human genetics. These claims align with various fringe theories that suggest humanity's rapid technological and cultural evolution was not entirely organic, but shaped by unseen forces. LACERTA also speaks of the future, warning of potential crises that might compel her species to reveal themselves. She notes that humanity's advancements in technology, particularly nuclear weapons and space exploration, have alerted her people to the possibility that humans could soon become too powerful to ignore. While her species has the capability to neutralize human threats, she emphasizes their preference for remaining hidden unless absolutely necessary. As the modern era unfolds, with increasing interest in UFOs, government disclosures, and the potential existence of extraterrestrial life, the LACERTA files have garnered renewed attention. Whether dismissed as a hoax, regarded as a glimpse of hidden truths, or viewed as a compelling piece of alternative folklore, the interview with LACERTA raises profound questions about Earth's history and humanity's place within it. This document will examine the LACERTA files in depth, dissecting the claims, exploring their implications, and analyzing what an ancient reptilian species living beneath our feet might mean for humanity's future. Whether or not one believes in the reptilian hypothesis, these files challenge us to delve deeper into the mysteries of our world and question the conventional narratives we've been taught. This is a journey into the unknown, a deep dive into one of the most enigmatic and controversial documents of the 21st century. Whether fabrication, warning, or revelation, the LACERTA files present a narrative so detailed, unsettling, and thought-provoking that they continue to captivate truth-seekers and skeptics alike. The LACERTA files comprise two purported interviews between a Swedish researcher and the female reptilian humanoid named LACERTA. First appearing online in 1999, these files have circulated within UFO and conspiracy communities ever since. The following translation, completed in October 2024, strives to convey the visual and conceptual elements of the original document with greater clarity. Interview number 1, December 16, 1999. I hereby certify that the following text is entirely true and not a work of fiction. It contains excerpts from an interview I conducted with a non-human reptilian being in December 1999. This female entity had already been in contact with a friend of mine, referred to as EF in the text, for several months. To clarify, I have spent most of my life as a skeptic regarding UFOs, extraterrestrials, and other extraordinary phenomena. When EF first told me about his encounters with this being, named LACERTA, I dismissed his stories as nothing more than dreams or fabrications. Even on December 16, 1999, when I met her in person in a small, warm room at my friend's remote house in southern Sweden, I remained skeptical. However, after seeing her with my own eyes and observing her clearly non-human appearance, my skepticism began to erode. During that meeting, she shared and demonstrated phenomena so extraordinary that I could no longer deny the truth of her existence or the validity of her words. This is not another fabricated UFO report claiming to reveal the truth. I am fully convinced that this transcript contains genuine, undeniable facts, and I urge you to read it carefully. The interview lasted more than 3 hours, but the transcript below presents only an abridged version. LACERTA requested that certain details remain unpublished at this time. Consequently, some questions may not appear in the exact order they were asked, which might create a slightly disjointed flow. Removing the sensitive details as she requested was a challenging task, so I apologize for any perceived inconsistencies. I possess the full transcript, 49 pages, including sketches of her physical form and the technology she described, along with audio recordings of the entire interview. However, I will not release the full material until I receive her explicit permission. This abridged version has been distributed to 4 trusted friends in Finland, Norway, Germany, and France, with the hope that they will translate it into other languages and share it widely. If you receive this document, I ask that you forward it to others via email or create physical copies to distribute. The goal is to ensure as many people as possible have access to and can reflect upon this information. During our 3-hour and 6-minute meeting, LACERTA demonstrated several abilities of her species that most would describe as paranormal, including telepathy and telekinesis. I personally witnessed objects move without physical interaction, a pencil dancing across the table and an apple levitating approximately 40 centimeters above her hands. I am absolutely certain these were not illusions or tricks. I understand how difficult this might be for anyone to believe without first-hand experience. However, I was able to connect with her mind during the encounter, and I am now entirely convinced that everything she revealed is the absolute truth about our world. Admittedly, as I reread this transcript, even in its shortened form, it seems almost too incredible to accept. It reads like the plot of a science fiction film or novel, and I know many will doubt my account. But regardless of belief, I assure you that these events are real. I don't expect anyone to accept this solely based on my testimony, as I cannot provide physical evidence at this time. All I ask is that you read the transcript carefully and consider its implications. Perhaps by doing so, you may discover the truth for yourself. A second meeting with LACERTA has been scheduled for April 23, 2000, at the same house in Sweden. She has suggested that she may provide tangible evidence of her existence during this encounter. In the meantime, I am preparing additional questions for her and hope she will permit me to share more details from our discussions, including information about the potential conflict she mentioned. Whether you choose to believe or not is entirely up to you. I sincerely hope that you will keep an open mind. Question. First, can you tell me who you are and what you are? Are you an extraterrestrial species, or do you come from this planet? Answer. As you can see, I'm not human like you. To be clear, I'm not a mammal either, though my body has some mammal-like features due to evolution. I am a female reptilian being, part of an ancient reptilian race. We are native to this planet and have lived here for millions of years. You'll find references to us in many of your religious texts, including the Christian Bible, and various ancient human civilizations were aware of us and even worshipped us as gods, such as the Egyptians, the Incas, and other ancient cultures. Unfortunately, your Christian teachings have misunderstood our role in your creation, which is why we are depicted as the evil serpent in your scriptures. This interpretation is incorrect. Your species was genetically engineered by extraterrestrial beings, and we were merely passive observers during this process of accelerated evolution. Some of your scientists have already speculated about this. Your species evolved unnaturally quickly, in just 2 to 3 million years, a time frame far too short for natural evolution. True evolution is much slower. Your creation was artificial, brought about by genetic manipulation, but not by us, by an alien species. So, if you're asking whether I'm an extraterrestrial, my answer is no. We are native to Earth. While we have established colonies in the solar system, our origin lies here on this planet. In fact, this is our planet, not yours. It was never truly yours. Question. Can you tell me your name? Answer. That's complicated. Your human tongue cannot pronounce my name correctly, and a mispronunciation of our names can be highly offensive to some of my kind. Our language is very different from yours. We don't have first names like humans. We are given one unique name, which is determined by the way it is spoken, and this is given during a special ceremony in our adolescence, either during a religious or scientific enlightenment, as you might call it. Please refrain from trying to say my real name. You can call me LACERTA. That is the name I use when interacting with humans. Question. How old are you? Answer. Well, we don't measure time in astronomical years like you do by counting Earth's revolutions around the sun. Since we live mostly beneath the planet's surface, our time measurement is based on periodic cycles in Earth's magnetic field. In your terms, I am 57,653 cycles old. I reached adulthood and full awareness 16,337 cycles ago, which is a significant milestone for us. If translated into your human time, I am approximately 28 years old. Question. What is your purpose? Do you have a job like we do? Answer. In your words, I would describe myself as a curious student of your species' social behavior. That's why I am here speaking with you, why I revealed myself to EF, and now to you. That's also why I am sharing all this secret information and answering your questions as honestly as I can. I am interested in observing how you and others of your kind will react. There are many among your species who claim to know the truth about us, about UFOs and about aliens, but most of what they say is false. I want to see how your species will respond when they hear the actual truth. I expect most of you will refuse to believe what I'm telling you, but I hope I'm wrong, because understanding this truth is essential if you wish to survive the years ahead. Question. I've read the full statement you gave to EF, but can you give me a brief answer now? Are UFOs real flying objects piloted by extraterrestrials, or do they belong to your species? Answer. Some of the UFOs you've observed, what you call UFOs, do belong to us, but most do not. Many of the mysterious flying objects seen in the sky aren't actual technology, but rather natural phenomena that your scientists have yet to fully understand, like spontaneous plasma flares in the upper atmosphere. That said, some UFOs are real, and are either piloted by humans, especially your military, other extraterrestrial species, or occasionally by us. However, only a small fraction of the sightings can be attributed to our craft, as we are typically very cautious in our movements and use special methods to conceal our ships. For instance, if you hear about a sighting of a metallic, bright gray cigar-shaped object, ranging in size from about 20 to 260 meters, and it emits a deep humming sound and features 5 bright red lights, one at the top, one in the middle, and 2 at the back, it's likely that someone has seen one of our ships. This would mean either there was a malfunction or someone from our side was not being careful enough. We also possess a few disc-shaped craft, but these typically belong to another alien species. Triangular UFOs, on the other hand, are generally constructed by your own military using reverse-engineered alien technology. If you're interested in spotting one of our ships, the skies over the Arctic, Antarctic, or Inner Asia, especially the mountain regions, are your best bet. Question. Do you have any particular symbol or emblem that we can use to identify your kind? Answer. We have 2 main symbols that represent our species. One of our more ancient symbols is a blue serpent with 4 white wings on a black background. These colors hold religious significance for us. While this symbol was once widely used by parts of our society, it is now quite rare. Interestingly, humans have often copied it in their ancient writings. Our more common symbol today is a mythical figure you would call a dragon, formed in the shape of a circle with 7 white stars in the middle. If you ever see this symbol on a cylindrical craft like the one I described earlier, or on an underground facility, that location or object definitely belongs to us, and I'd advise you to leave immediately. Question. Do the 7 stars in the symbol you mentioned refer to the Pleiades? Answer. No, not the Pleiades. The 7 stars represent planets and moons, specifically from our former 7 colonies within the solar system. The stars are shown against a blue background, and the dragon circle symbolizes the shape of the Earth. The 7 white stars refer to the Moon, Mars, Venus, and 4 moons of Jupiter and Saturn that we colonized in the past. However, 2 of those colonies are now abandoned, so technically 5 stars would be more accurate today. Question: since you won't allow me to take photographs, which would help prove the authenticity of this story, can you describe your appearance in detail? Answer: I understand that photographs would make this interview more credible, but even if you had pictures, many people would still claim they were fake. They'd think I was just a human in disguise, which would be deeply insulting to me. There are multiple reasons I can't allow you to take photos of me or my equipment. One of the main reasons is to maintain the secrecy of our existence. There's also a religious aspect to this decision, which I prefer not to discuss. However, I do permit you to make drawings based on my appearance and the equipment I'll show you later. I'll do my best to describe myself, but I doubt your kind will be able to fully grasp my appearance based solely on words, given the mental programming you have that denies the existence of intelligent, non-human species. But let's try. Imagine the body of an average human woman, and you'll get a good idea of my basic form. Like you, I have a head, 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, and 2 feet. My proportions are similar to yours. As a female, I also have 2 breasts. Even though we are reptilian, evolution has led us to produce milk to nourish our young. This adaptation began about 30 million years ago, as it's the best method for keeping our offspring alive. Evolution did this for your species in the age of the dinosaurs, and eventually for ours as well. That doesn't mean we're true mammals, but we share some of those traits. Our breasts, however, are generally smaller than those of human women, and the size is consistent for every female of my kind. Our reproductive organs are smaller than yours but serve the same function, another gift of evolution. My skin is primarily a pale, greenish-beige color with irregular brown patterns or dots, each about 1 to 2 centimeters in size. These patterns are more prominent in females and appear on the lower body and face. In my case, you can see 2 lines of dots crossing my forehead, cheeks, and chin. My eyes are larger than human eyes, allowing us to see better in low light. They are dominated by large black pupils, surrounded by a bright green iris. Males have a darker green iris. My pupils are slit-shaped, and they can adjust from a thin black line to a wide oval depending on the light. Our retinas are extremely sensitive, which is why the pupils need to expand or contract rapidly. We have small, external, rounded ears, though they are less curved than yours. Our ears are more sensitive, and we can hear a broader range of frequencies. We also have a muscle or lid that allows us to close our ears completely, for example, when underwater. Our nose is more pointed, and there's a V-shaped structure between the nostrils, which once allowed our ancestors to detect heat. We've lost most of that ability, though we can still sense temperature more accurately than humans. My lips resemble yours but are paler, almost a light brown. Our teeth are strong, sharp, and slightly longer than those of mammals. Our hair is generally greenish-brown, thicker, and grows much more slowly than yours. We only have hair on our heads, and we don't have a variety of hair colors like humans do. My arms, legs, and body are shaped similarly to yours, though my skin on the upper arms and thighs is slightly scaly, especially above the knees and elbows. My fingers are a bit longer and thinner than yours, and we don't have fingerprints. Our palms have a smooth, scale-like texture with the same brown dots I mentioned earlier. On the middle fingers of both hands, we have small, sharp horns. Our fingernails are gray and longer than yours. Males have even longer, pointed nails, sometimes up to 5 or 6 centimeters. One key difference is along the back of my upper body. If you touch my spine, you'll feel a hard, bony ridge that extends from my head down to my hips. This ridge is covered with sensitive, plate-like structures that help regulate our body temperature. Sunlight heats these plates, which warms our blood, a sensation we find very pleasurable. Other differences between our species are minor and usually hidden by clothing. I hope this description is detailed enough, but I encourage you to make some sketches. Now, I will stop sharing more of the first interview right here and say something important. As you have just read, there is a lot to take in with this interview. With all things unverified, there is always the chance such a text is fictional, but there is a bibliography of other accounts that seem to back it up. The LACERTA Reptilian interview, purportedly conducted with a reptilian being in the interviewer's literal presence, has been a controversial topic in the field of ufology and conspiracy theories since its emergence. While some individuals claim to have had experiences or encounters with reptilian beings, the evidence supporting these claims is largely anecdotal and lacks scientific validation. Let us explore some examples of accounts and testimonies, along with their sources. Dr. Carla Turner. Dr. Carla Turner was a researcher and author who explored the experiences of individuals claiming abduction by extraterrestrial beings, including reptilians. In her book Into the Fringe, 1992, she presents various accounts of abduction experiences that include interactions with reptilian beings. The early 90s work is based on Dr. Turner's own personal interviews with individuals who claimed with certainty to have experienced alien abduction. Turner, who held a PhD in English and was a lecturer, sought to provide a comprehensive examination of the psychological, emotional, and physical effects of abduction experiences on individuals. Many subjects reported being taken from their homes or vehicles, often during the night, and a recurring theme was the reptilian and disturbingly visual nature of these abductors. The testimonies reveal a wide range of experiences, from being subjected to medical examinations to interactions that included communication with the beings one-on-one. In sparing cases, the beings were described as cold, calculating, and even malevolent, which aligns with traditional depictions of reptilians who seem to lack our humane warmth and consideration for emotionally charged feelings, notably the basic empathy we usually take for granted. Turner identifies a specific type of alien in her research, the reptilian humanoids. She describes them as often presenting with lizard-like features and a sinister demeanor. These beings were frequently associated with themes of control and manipulation. Many individuals who claimed to have encountered reptilians reported feelings of fear and helplessness during the experience. The reptilians were often depicted as having an agenda that involved experimentation on humans, suggesting a predatory relationship. It must be noted that Turner emphasizes the psychological ramifications of abduction experiences. Individuals often faced intense trauma, anxiety, and confusion regarding their encounters. Turner discusses how these experiences can lead to long-term psychological effects, including post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. She also addresses the challenge of integrating these experiences into one's understanding of reality, as many subjects struggled with disbelief from family and friends. It sounds like a terrifying reality to have to endure. Having encountered something so bizarre and otherworldly, that not only does your family disbelieve you, but they might also accuse you of suffering from an undiagnosed neurosis that led you to abhorrent and traumatizing hallucinations. Throughout her research, Turner aimed to provide a supportive and validating environment for her subjects. She encouraged them to explore their experiences without judgment, put onus on the fact that their feelings and perceptions were valid, even if they could not be easily explained. Fascinatingly enough, Turner conducted regression hypnosis to help individuals recover memories of their abduction experiences. She believed that this technique could aid in uncovering repressed memories related to the encounters. Naturally, Dr. Turner was aware of the skepticism surrounding the topic of alien abduction and reptilian encounters. She criticized the tendency of mainstream scientists and psychologists to dismiss these experiences as mere fabrications or hallucinations. Instead, she called for a more open-minded approach to understanding the phenomenon, suggesting that there may be underlying truths to these accounts that merit further investigation. Turner places the experiences of her subjects within a broader cultural and historical context, noting that themes of abduction and interactions with alien beings have persisted throughout human history. She examines how folklore, mythology, and contemporary narratives have shaped people's perceptions of extraterrestrial encounters. She also explores how media portrayals of reptilians and aliens influence public perceptions and the narratives surrounding abduction experiences. Richard Dolan. Richard Dolan is an author and researcher in the field of UFO studies. He has discussed the implications of alleged government cover-ups regarding extraterrestrial contact, including reptilian beings. Whitley Strieber. Strieber is an author who wrote the famous book Communion, 1987, detailing his personal experiences with what he claims to be alien beings, including descriptions that some interpret as reptilian. A collection of testimonies and accounts from individuals who believe they have encountered reptilian beings or have experienced alien abduction phenomena involving such entities. These accounts often describe interactions that align with themes found in the LACERTA interview. The Dulce Book. This book, authored by Branton, pseudonym of a conspiracy theorist, explores theories surrounding underground bases in Dulce, New Mexico, and includes discussions of reptilian beings and their interactions with humans. Linda Moulton Howe. An investigative journalist and documentary producer, Howe has reported on various UFO-related topics, including encounters with alien species, some of which involve reptilian descriptions. Her research and interviews often explore the idea of extraterrestrial influence. While there are numerous accounts and testimonies that touch upon the themes discussed in the LACERTA interview, it is essential to note that these sources often lack empirical evidence and are frequently dismissed by mainstream science. The testimonies presented are largely anecdotal, relying on personal experiences that cannot be independently verified. As with any controversial topic, a critical approach is necessary when evaluating the validity of such claims. The reptilian agenda. So, the biggest question is, what do the reptilians want with us? To answer this, we have to dive into a conspiracy theory that has been gaining a lot of traction in recent years. Prison planet. As someone with a background in theology and the philosophy of religion, purpose and meaning have always fascinated me. Not in an abstract way, but in the very literal sense. Civilization, technological advancement, and how humanity has continued to innovate, oftentimes through exploitation and manipulative gain within the framework of political and economic structures, throughout its evolution. Religions have tried contextualizing a fundamental question. Why are we here? Some conspiracy theorists claim that the deities of the world religions, including the God of the Abrahamic faiths, were extraterrestrials who made early man believe they were gods. They sent messages to humanity throughout the ages in an attempt to control us and use us for their own purposes. This was a pretty fascinating exploration, but it needs an update. Admittedly, a lot has happened in the UFO/UAP community as of today. World governments have started acknowledging and sometimes outright admitting the legitimacy of the well-documented non-human aerial craft phenomena. There have been alleged mummies of tiny 1,000-year-old alien-like creatures. The latter were believed to be hoaxes when first reported, but there have been shock revelations in their recent studies that might point to a breakthrough in our understanding of what's been hidden on our very planet for centuries. Legislators and numerous senates of major Western countries are debating and discussing possible disclosure of their own research and knowledge within the next few years. While I'm doubtful we'll get anything concrete, it's pretty evident that we're living in a time where humanity will be obliged to get its head around the very real fact that there is something extraterrestrial that has visited our world, and it's probably been here for a long time. In late 2022, I came across a growing community of UFO truthers who believe in what is known as the prison planet hypothesis. This is the belief that there is a fundamental connection between the teachings of world religions, UFOs, spirituality, the human essence, call it a soul if you must, and the ever-grandiose question of why we're here. Proponents of the theory have seemingly killed multiple birds with one stone, answering a handful of philosophical questions surrounding the nature of terrestrial existence with their premise. Their hypothesis answers the problem of suffering, the Odyssey, the conundrum of human existence, spiritual mystery, and the nature of the afterlife. So, what is the theory? Humanity is a soul farm for higher dimensional beings who feed off the pain and agony of low-frequency existences, like our Earth. Information about these beings, documented in Gnostic texts, such as in the writings of the Nag Hammadi library as archons, was hidden and concealed by the early Christian Church. These beings, who are said to rule over our lesser Earth, pretended to be gods. They set rules and dictates for Homo sapiens at some point in our hominid evolution. These don't exist in our frequency. Thus, we cannot experience them as you would a friend or a stranger on the street. Nonetheless, they're not angels, demons, or anything supernatural in the traditional sense. They are a fact. They exist. We don't know why or from where they came, but they're here. These alien beings are here on Earth, and they aren't extraterrestrial at all. They are part of the reality of the universe, and have a very strong interest in the Earth and the human species that evolved herein. To understand how and why these beings exist requires an understanding of physics, matter, and evolution that the scientific method as we currently understand it cannot grasp. Convenient, you might say. Yet there are many proposed and alleged phenomena and concepts that have never been proven. All I ask is that you maintain an open mind. These archons have been here for millions of years. They're not unique to Judeo-Christian tradition and Apocrypha either, by the way. Some have interpreted Greek philosophers such as Plato and his cave allegory as alluding to the superficial nature of this realm and a reality that exists beyond our reach that few will ever experience. Furthermore, there also exists many an oral tradition across various South American and African cultures that tell of false deities and extraterrestrial beings that inhabited the earth millennia before the first human ancestor. Ones we mistook as deities, but were mere mortals. According to Prison Planet, they pretended to be gods and duped humanity into thinking that pleasing them will bring us some kind of reward in the next world. They do this by having us believe in a rose-tinted glasses kind of heaven that we will all get to one day, but very few actually do. More on this later. Much like the ancient Buddhist and Hindu teachings of the cycle of life and death and reincarnation, Prison Planet theory proposes that we have all been here on Earth in different forms, as animals, plants, or humans, over 1,000,000 times before. We have been reincarnated over and over due to a trap that is placed before us every time we die. These beings feed off our pain and low-frequency emotions, and when we die, they masquerade as loved ones guiding us towards the light. You may have heard of the so-called light at the end of the tunnel, often presented as a romanticized ideal at the point of death that even possesses a calming and therapeutic element to it. The Prison Planet theory posits that the reality of this phenomenon is anything but a sinister trap to recycle our souls and repeat the cycle of suffering, what we call life. They might appear as your deceased father or grandparent. Their true nature is reptilian. I'm not sure why. Nobody does. Again, they have been documented across myths and religious literature throughout human history. When you go towards the light, according to the theory, you are recycled back down to Earth. Proponents of the theory claim that the human aim of death is to avoid such a light and to break the cycle of life and death. This is what ancient religions had been alluding to, but were given more spiritual and religious weight and complexity than perhaps they merited. So why don't we just try to break the cycle upon our next incarnation? Because the process of death wipes our memories to start over. The suffering a human life goes through is what feeds the parasitic beings, archons, and they rely on these cycles for survival. You might be wondering where this leaves the belief in God or Christ. Many do believe that you can achieve heaven, but the only way to do so is by breaking the cycle. Some proponents say that there is a real God or gods, which might be from a separate alien race. Others, however, believe that the idea of God itself has been distorted by the archons, who manipulate our spiritual yearnings and our desperation for meaning. According to this view, the gods of religion are nothing more than false idols, distractions engineered by these higher dimensional entities to maintain their grip on our souls. They created institutions like organized religion to confuse us and to perpetuate the cycle of ignorance and suffering. In this version of reality, heaven and hell are not places of eternal reward or punishment as we've been taught, but merely states of existence within the same prison system. Hell is the life of suffering, and heaven is just another level within the prison, a more pleasant, less painful version of existence, but still under the control of the same malevolent forces. The ultimate goal for humanity, then, is liberation, escaping this cosmic prison once and for all. Some believe that this escape requires a deep spiritual awakening, a rejection of the illusions that the archons place before us, and a refusal to follow the light at the end of the tunnel. Instead, one must recognize the deception, turn away from the false guidance of these parasitic beings, and seek a different path. This path is often described in mystical or esoteric terms, but the core idea is that enlightenment, or true freedom, lies beyond the cycle of reincarnation. With all these things in mind, I want to ask you and your subscribers, what do you think about everything I have shared with you? Do you want me to share more of the interviews with LACERTA, the so-called reptilian humanoid? Let me know, please. I am what you might call a skeptic-agnostic researcher, but I am very curious, always curious. There are a lot of things in our world that we do not know about. With that being said, I will end my first document here, for now. I am looking forward to know the thoughts of the well-meaning Christians who watch your channel. Thank you so much. Brothers and sisters in Christ, it is very well known that nowadays, claims that extraterrestrial beings, often depicted as reptilian overlords, secretly run the world, are becoming increasingly widespread. As Christians, how should we respond? More importantly, are these theories aligned with the Word of God? Let's dive into the scriptures to find the answers. First, we must recognize that God's Word is the ultimate authority. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 16 to 17 tells us, "All Scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work." If something contradicts Scripture, we must reject it, no matter how intriguing it seems. One of the core teachings of the Bible is the sovereignty of God. Psalm chapter 24 verse 1 declares, "The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world, and all who live in it." Conspiracy theories often elevate the power of supposed aliens or secret groups, implying that they control the world. This undermines the biblical truth that God is in control. Isaiah chapter 45 verse 7 says, "I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things." No alien or any other being, spiritual or physical, can thwart God's plans. Job chapter 42 verse 2 reminds us, "I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted." Any claim that aliens rule the world is a direct denial of God's supreme authority. Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 tells us that God created mankind in his own image. Nowhere in the creation account is there mention of extraterrestrial beings. While the Bible does speak of otherworldly entities like angels and demons, their roles are clearly defined. Angels are messengers of God, Hebrews chapter 1 verse 14, and demons are fallen angels led by Satan, Revelation chapter 12 verses 7 to 9. Aliens, as described in conspiracy theories, have no biblical foundation. Instead, such theories often blur the lines between science fiction and spiritual deception. 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1 warns us, "The Spirit clearly says that in later times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons." Many alien conspiracy theories echo themes of deception and fear. As Christians, we know who the master deceiver is. John chapter 8 verse 44 describes Satan as a liar and the father of lies. Revelation chapter 12 verse 9 further identifies him as the great dragon, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. Could these alien theories be another tactic of Satan to lead people away from Christ? It's possible. Instead of focusing on these unbiblical ideas, we must fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 2. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 11 instructs us to have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. We are called to discernment, to test every claim against Scripture. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verses 21 to 22 advises us to test everything, hold on to what is good, reject every kind of evil. Instead of getting entangled in baseless theories, let us dedicate our time to studying the Bible and growing in our faith. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 5 reminds us to demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Dear friends, let us not be distracted by worldly theories and myths. Colossians chapter 2 verse 8 warns us, "See to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy, which depends on human tradition and the elemental spiritual forces of this world rather than on Christ. Instead, focus on what is true and eternal." Philippians chapter 4 verse 8 encourages us, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." The Bible is clear. God is in control, and His word is the ultimate truth. Let us reject anything that leads us away from Him. Stay rooted in Scripture, stand firm in faith, and trust in the Lord with all your heart. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5. Remember, our hope is not in conspiracies or speculation, but in the saving grace of Jesus Christ. May God bless you and guide you always. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in our next video.